My name is Husna Kamila binti Hairul Anwar, and today we will be discussing about the concept of Dharuriyyat and Hajiyyat in Islamic economics using the example of basic food, which is cheese. We choose this topic because it is widely consumed in our daily life. Yet, many people are unaware that some cheese may not be halal due to the ingredients in their production, and this is what making it as an interesting example to understand how Islamic principles actually guide us in our food consumption, even as common as cheese. Cheese is one of the most common daily products we consume today, and it is made from milk through a process called coagulation, where an enzyme known as Rennet is then be added to curdle the milk, and the solid part is the curds is then will be pressed and aged to form cheese. On top of that, cheese is also used in many everyday food like sandwiches, pasta, and snacks, and it also provides nutrients such as protein, calcium, and fat. And because of that, of course, it can be considered as one of the most important food in many people's diet or healthy lifestyle. However, there is a halal concern in the production process, where the rennet may comes from animals that are not slaughtered according to Islamic law, making the cheese become non-halal during the production. And this is where the discussion of these two concepts, which are Dharuriyyat and Hajiyyat, becomes important, because we want to understand how this issue affects Muslim consumers. Since we have talked about how cheese can be considered as our daily consumption to keep us healthy and to keep us living. So next, my group members will further explain about how these two concepts can be applied in this situation.
Dharuriyyat represent necessities that are essential for the preservation of the five fundamental objectives of Sharia, which including religion, life, lineage, intellect, and lastly property. Without these, human would fall into chaos and great harms. Meanwhile, Hajiyyat refers to needs that remove hardship and provide ease, but life would still continue without them. If absent, it can cause difficulties, but not harm to life. Both actually help scholars decide whether it is allowed or not allowed, while keeping Islamic ruling fair and practical. In Maqasid Sharia, this topic relates to three main objectives, which is Hifzuddin, protecting of religion, second, Hifzunnaf, protecting of life, and lastly, Hifzul Mal, protecting of wealth. For Hifzuddin, using halal rennet keep our food lawful and pure, while non-halal rennet goes against Sharia. Second, Hifzunnaf. Cheese gives nutrients that helps us maintain our health and life, while if there's no other food that is available, then non-halal rennet may be allowed for survival and to prevent starvation. And lastly, Hifzul Mal. Using halal rennet actually can support lawful business and trade, while helping our Muslim earns their money to spend on lawful ways.
Now, I'm going to explain to you guys about positive aspect in Dharuriyyat element on animal rennet in cheese production. First is element of Dharuriyyat is preservation of life. Cheese is the source of essential nutrients such as calcium, protein, and vitamin that help to maintain the body health and strength. It also support the body needs, especially for growth, bone strength, and energy. Why is cheese considered as Dharuriyyat? Dharuriyyat refer to things that are necessary for survival and well-being. Cheese also provide a basic nourishment that are contribute to maintaining human life. For people who have a limited access to other protein source like meat or fish, cheese can act as important substitute for them. Now, I'm going to explain to you guys for who actually need cheese. First, children. Children need cheese for growth and bone development because cheese contains calcium and protein. Second is athlete or active individual. They need cheese as a source of energy and protein to repair their muscle and maintain their stamina. And lastly, people with limited meat intake like vegetarian, they need cheese as alternative protein source in their daily diet.
Okay, as you had already explained about the Hajiyyat element, now I'm going to say that cheese is one of those food. It is not essentially for survival, but it adds to convenience, variety, and nutrition to daily meals. So there are the negative element of the animal rennet in cheese production for Hajiyyat. The first one is uncertainty halal status, which is shubha. There's so many people out there that is really concerned about the cheese production that may come from the animal that is not slaughtered according to the Islamic law, that make and causing people to doubt and confusion about the products. So this may lead to the difficulty which is musyarakah in choosing the cheese production. The second one is limited food option for Muslims. Since there's so many cheese production is made with the animal rennets, so Muslims find it struggle to find this halal certificate cheese, mostly in non-Muslim countries. Why am I talking about non-Muslim countries? It is because our country mostly use their cheese as imported products. So this limited access to the convenience food is one of the Hajiyyat concerns. So last but not least, which is the third one, is difficulty in avoidance. Difficulty in avoidance, where we in our daily life we usually use cheese in our food, such as cheese, pizza, and burgers. So for us to avoid using cheese is really a burdensome.
Now, let's look at this issue from an Islamic perspective. In Islam, when we talk about animal rennet in cheese production, it is important to analyze it through two main principles, which is Taharah and Sadu al-Zaran. So the first one is Taharah. Taharah means purity. Islam teaches everything a Muslim consume must be clean and pure, whether in physically or spiritually. So in this context, it's focused on the sources of the rennet use. So for the second principle, which is Sadu al-Zarai, which means blocking that could lead to harm or wrongdoings. In this context, it teaches Muslims to avoid anything that may lead to doubtful or unlawful consumption. So for the example, if the cheese product doesn't not clearly state whether its rennets come from halal sources, Muslims are advised to avoid it. By doing so, we prevent ourselves from consuming something that may be haram or doubtful, in aligning with the Islamic value of safeguarding purity and faith.
As for the sale, we found that besides using animal rennet, we came up with two suggestions, which is microbial rennet and also genetically engineered rennet. Let's move to the next part.
As for the sale, we need to ensure that animal rennet that we use in our production is halal and according to Sharia law. By ensure that the source of the rennet comes from animals slaughtered from Muslim, following the right condition. Also, we build trust to customer by doing implementation to our workers so that they have more concern about using halal animal rennet. Other than that, we also need to obtain the halal certification from the right authorities, as we have now in Malaysia, which is JAKIM. As I told you earlier about the suggestion, I have one point to focus more on the first part, which is microbial rennet. They are made from bacteria and fungus, which is called Mucormicae and Rhizomucobacillus. It is used for vegetarian cheese and halal and is not involving animal. It common use in cheese industry commercial and is cheaper and easy to make.